and welcome to the Psychic Kitchen. We have Norma Steen and adventuresforconnection.com. As you can see up there, we're going to be talking about etiology today. How you doing, Miss Norman?
I'm doing good. How about you? It's
Holding
it's
in
been
there.
quite nice with all the energy and stuff. So let's see what happens.
We holding in there. We holding in there. Another day.
Yep.
So explain to us about how this works.
How this works. So etiology is a system that brings the Enneagram, numerology, and astrology together in one comprehensive system that helps provide the keys to the understanding of us as human beings in this realm, with the realm of the esoteric model that is representative of the beings that we are. So when you look at etiology, it helps you to understand that the world in which we exist in this manifest. It helps you to understand the reflection of the stars in the astrology, in the planets, how things come together, and understanding the elements and how all that corresponds and works together, and helps you to gain more of a comprehensive understanding of the being you are with this vessel.
Okay.
So, would you say that it's kind of like a template almost, that the same template would apply to everyone? It's just there are nuances and different energies located within the template that are different, if you see what I mean.
Well, basically, it's like what it does is it breaks down the 9 archetypes, and
Right.
what that represents is there's 7 planets, there's 7 chakra systems within us. So you have the 7 planets, which are what you call your archetypes, and those archetypes represent the organs within the body. And when you understand the energy of the archetype, then you understand the energy that may flow through that certain or particular organ within your body that tells you about your environment, or the the experiences that you're having, because that's where the basically it's the meeting of the energy, because the energy helps you read your environment. So say if Jupiter comes into play, and Jupiter is a part of like the digestive tract, and we utilize that as something that's telling us, okay, something's going on. So when you're in an environment, or if something's going on with that organ, and you just don't know why you're having a particular ailment on particular times or days, then what happens is etiology helps you to understand that there is always a purpose and reason for the organ presenting something to you, either about your environment, whether that's outwardly or inwardly, or the many things that can be taking place or going on in your environment that's representing your stress levels, anxiety, your happiness, whatever it may be. And when you understand the energies of those particular planets, then what happens is you understand the energy that's going on within the body system, that helps you to take better care of understanding your health, your physical activities, your food, and what you take in, how it's digested. So basically, when you understand all the 9 archetypes, then you come to understand how to better take care of the being, or the vessel that the being is with. And you understand how this vessel represents, it is its own world that represents the world in which we exist.
So these archetypes, are they like their own specific, or are they like Jungian archetypes, or?
It depends, because what happens is etiology takes, and it goes all the way back to the origin, so that you come to understand all the personas, so to speak, that energy played throughout history and time. So basically, your archetypes are your planets. So you have the 7 planets. You've got Jupiter, Mars, Uranus, Saturn, Moon, Sun. So, and then you have the north and you have the south node of the moon. So in etiology, it doesn't go through the system of the 7 days a week, where it represents 1, 2, 3. What it is it goes 1, 2, 9, 5, 3, 6, 8. And those are your archetypes. And those are the days of the weeks that these archetypes were given back in a period in time, where when you look at ages, or you look at how we have times of aeons and things like that, each of those archetypes, which sit in their own celestial position within the cosmics of the astrology and understanding, the houses and how the degrees and things like that work, what it is each of these planets were given a day. And the reason why that is because each of those planets represents a day, or it represents the organ, which tells you the specific days on how to address those organs if they're showing any ailments, or if there's something that you can focus on specifically with your health and with your exercise routines or yogas or qigong, things like that. And that helps you to understand how to keep those energies moving instead of them being stagnant and stuck and becoming an ailment for you. So the 9 archetypes it's like I said, because 1 is the sun, 2 is the moon, 3 is Mercury. I just lost my train of thought there. Anyways, those days of the week represents that archetype, represents that planet, which represents that organ within your body, but it also represents the chakra system as well.
Okay.
How is it used to diagnose things, like if they have a disease or if there's problems in the body? Like, how does that work?
Well, what it does is from my understanding and what I've come to understand about etiology is a disease only represents itself because we're not moving an energy that is stuck, called an emotion. So when we come to these places that we understand that, what etiology helps you to understand is that first, when you recognize the archetype, then you recognize what may be going on with that particular organ within that body. Once you do that, it also breaks down, giving you the ability to understand what a proper diet may be, depending on what archetype you relate to. Because when you come into like this here now time space in this time that you're living, you have 2. You have your destiny, you have your psychic number. So your destiny number represents the character and personality of the being in this vessel as to who they present themselves to be to people on an everyday basis. But your psychic number is basically the psychic number of the being that comes in that helps to bring the 2 together to understand as a whole what your purpose is, where you're going, why you have the personality type that you have, why the characteristics that you have. This can get very complex, just like it does with the human design system. But what it does is it brings it together to help you understand that it works in unison. It's a harmonic balance between the 2 realms that we exist in, much less helping you understand the expansion of that, any other realms outside of just the 2 that we exist in, the exo and the esoteric realms. So when you get to understand that, then you come to understand once you're given those 2, then you're given an even broader perspective to understand that you must know all 9 archetypes. And the reason that being is because those archetypes help form the organs within your body. Because these are just your archetypes that you've come into in this here 9 time space. But you've been every archetype across the board because of the many lives you've lived. So all of it exists at the same time within us. We just must understand that these archetypes tells us in our moods and how we're feeling and what's going on, what may be going on in that day, depending on where the moon is sitting, what's going on with Uranus, if that's the archetype that it may be representing today, or Mars. Mars is the planet of war, but it's also the planet that represents justice as well. And understanding those energies, if you're falling on a Tuesday, which is number 9, then you know that for that day, okay, number 9 tells me, okay, this is what I need to be focused on. This is what I need to set my intention to, is to understand if I'm having any issues with this particular organ or this particular discomfort within the body, then at least I have that energy to understand where to come from, where I may be able to start asking the proper questions that gives me innately the wisdom to understand what's taking place on that day because of the energies that are taking place.
Okay.
Well, if
So,
I'm not mistaken, go ahead, Jimmy. Sorry.
no, I was just going to say. So, does this say that basically if you got an issue with an organ, then it's always an emotional thing, or can it be affected? Say if someone's eating loads of food or fast food laden with chemicals, etc., and all of the things that are not conducive to health for the body. then it's not that issue. It's not the issue that they're eating food that's not nutritious for them.
It's a compound. So when you look at things and you look at everything as energy, because everything is energy, it's always in motion. When you come to understand the energetics of the esoteric and the exoteric in which we exist, then you begin to understand the body. You begin to understand that those emotions that are stuck are causing those reactions or those knee-jerk things that wants to bring us that comfort that we so seek. And a lot of people look to foods, drinks,
so
whatever it may be. And when we begin to understand the energy that's locked within that particular organ and why it's causing those emotional responses, then what we're able to do is begin to understand what steps we may need to take as the individual to create better habits within ourselves, because then we begin to understand if I move this energy, then I change my emotional state of being.
So the chemicals that we're ingesting, or some people are ingesting, not everyone obviously, they're creating the emotion which is affecting the organ. Is that yes. Basically
yes, it's either an enhancer or it compounds what's going on. Because from my understanding, in the way that I understand things, because I'm always gaining knowledge and information about the body system and about the spiritual aspects of the fullness of the beings of the experience that we're in. When we come to understand that, during our time, Generation X, we were taught to suppress our emotions. Oh, no, don't feel that way. No, that's not right. So at this time, what we did was, instead of allowing ourselves to express that emotion, what we did was we suppressed it. And when we did, it went to an organ. So that energy sits within that organ. And if you don't know how to move that energy, then that energy is a stuck residual. So what happens is it begins to affect the body in the way that the mind responds and reacts to it, determines on our ability as a being to understand ourselves enough to know, oh, I'm having this emotion and it's triggering this response, and I want chocolate, or I want chips, or I want this, that, or the other. And when we begin to understand, when we start feeding that, especially when it comes to sugars, breads and things like that, that aren't what's good for the body because it's harder for it to break down, then what happens is instead of it just being an energy, what happens is those chemicals begin to collect where that energy is sitting, because of the compounds and everything that these foods are made with go to the area, because that's the energy that drew that response.
And how does parasites affect it? Because obviously it's not just the chemicals, because the parasites can obviously supposedly influence our eating habits and stuff like that, and they can live in certain organs, mainly the digestive tract, obviously, and they can signal us to eat certain things that make them that feed them, and so I presume that's another sort of a way of the body. The parasites are obviously part of the body; they're inside the body, so they would be part of that as well.
Yes, and and then, like I said, just depending on what modality someone may go to, depending on where the energy's at, where it's stuck, what's triggering those reactions to want to feel good. Okay, so sometimes people use food as a way to feel good because they're lacking it somewhere, because they're looking outside themselves for that and they're not getting that. So what happens is we put it within, and because we don't understand energy, because for so long we weren't taught these things, and when you come to understand what energy is, what it represents within the body, by understanding how it's being represented outside of us and what we're putting within that body, then we begin to use tools or guides to assist us in daily routines where we change those habits and create better habits for ourselves. So that way we can begin to get rid of those parasites. We can begin to move that energy so that way that disease or that ailment or that pain may begin to move out of that place. So that way we release ourselves from that suffering.
Okay.
So our actions in what we choose to do given whatever the emotional state is or whatever's going on in our environment or whatever it may be. Our choices do become reflective within us, not just outside of us. But what's outside of us reflects what we're doing to ourselves within. So our body is a vessel. It is a vessel. It's our temple. It is very vitally important to understand both the esoteric and the exotericness of the beings that we are in these vessels having this human experience.
Okay. Cool.
And if I'm not mistaken, you got our information for our charts?
Yeah, I've got a little bit. If you'd like for me to read that off for you.
Yeah, I'm just going to be blatantly honest. I've been having some prostate issues. I got to go get it checked out and go to a Chinese doctor, but maybe there's something in there. So why not?
Yeah, no, I mean, like I said, it's, for guys, it's different, in the way they all express. It's totally different from how females express, but it's also understanding that, those energies get stuck for whatever, because we're also thinking beings. So those thoughts have power, of course. So with those thoughts, it will cause us to place that energy where that organ represents whatever that thought brings forth. Okay. So that's one thing I can just, give you as, a pointer or something that gives you a general clue or idea as to, it may be a thought that has helped enhance or bring about something that's going on within that organ of your body, because of something you felt you may be lacking, at any particular point in time. So, but I have here, I got both of y'all's psychic and your destiny number. And I can tell you who your archetypes are and your karmic lessons along with affirmations. And this is as far as it got, but there's so much more in depthness in, what this system or what this tool provides people. So, yep. So Jimmy, I got you in your psychic number is 3, just as mine, which makes you the orchestrator. So this makes you success driven. Right. Of course, there are balances and imbalances in all these archetypes. And when you come to understand each of those, you're able to recognize certain characteristics or personality traits that may come about that you may look at and say, maybe I should approach things differently.
Okay.
On your destiny number, you're a number 6, which makes you an allegiant. So that makes you committed to whatever it is that you are doing, whatever it is you're focused on, whatever your intent is as to the being that you're wanting to express or become as you go along living this life you're in here right now. Right. So your celestial body, number 3, is Jupiter. And on number 6 is Venus. So when you come to understand the energy of Jupiter, and you understand the energy of Venus, then you're able to understand that these two work together and correspond in harmony if you know how to keep yourself in balance. So, and then understanding that those energies that, may come about where as you're having emotions or moods or, personalities that are coming out, when you understand how Venus and Jupiter may collide, and who they are and what the energy is that they represent, then you have a better general clue and idea as to what to be aware of when you have these characteristics or these personality traits that are coming forth that you're like, that's not who I really am. So what do I need to look at that I may need to, focus on as to what I may need to change?
Okay, cool.
So, Thomas, your number for your psychic is an 8, which I do not, when I seen that, I was like, yeah, I can see that being Thomas, since I've gotten to speak with you oftenly and get to know a little bit about who you are. So that makes you a potentiate, which means that you are powerful. You're powerful because you speak your truth. You being who you are ultimately and fully. So your destiny number is number 4, which makes you a maverick, but it also represents Rahu and Ketu of the 2 aspects of the moon. So this makes you sensitive because Rahu is the mind side of the fullness of the body of who Rahu and Ketu are. And there's a story to that, and I've got it on Adventures for Connection on one of the videos that I speak to. So your archetype for the number 8 potentia is Saturn. And then your archetype for the number 4 Maverick, the Rahu, is you're the north node of the moon. So that means you're on the north higher perspective. So when we look at these and we come to understand that even though you have this psychic number and this destiny number, you also still have the rest of those archetypes within you because of your organs. So what you understand is okay, I'm an 8 and I'm a 4. On my wings, so to speak, I carry the rest of these archetypes because they are a part of me. It's just that the potentia and the Maverick is the psychic and the destiny number of the person that you are in your personality characteristic, in your spiritual belief, or in who you're providing people as to understanding who you are.
What does the Maverick mean? Is it like the truth teller? Is it like the rebel?
Let's see, because Ketu is the dynamo. So Maverick is the one that just, you are, because there's the dark, like right now, when you look outside, you'll see the light side of the moon and the dark side of the moon, because the earth is blocking the other side of the moon. So we are in that moment of what you would call a Rahu Ketu significant time, with where the moon is positioned and what's taking place in its in its stage, because we're fixing to come up onto a new moon. So the Maverick is someone that just, you're sensitive in that you have the ability to utilize the aspect of the north node of the moon, because you're able to tap into the esoteric level and realm of the beings that we are. So you intuitively are capable of recognizing and understanding that the information you get, you trust, unless something tells you some, gives you some different reason to not trust what you're being given. So you trust in your ability on that level of your psychic or spiritual part of yourself, because you utilize that as a way or a means to express the what is it? I can't think of it right now because I've got so much going through my mind. But it's your gifts, so to speak, is what I'm speaking to. So Rahu being of the north node, it gives you the ability to understand. You just have a connection that's a little different. So it's kind of like, for me, if I hit those Rahu moments because of something that's a part of me, I'm flighty, so to speak, because I'm up here and I'm receiving information. So that means I'm not always present with this body, because I am in another realm, so to speak, with my mind, because I'm receiving information.
Okay.
Wow, Thomas, a Maverick. I would never have guessed that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's an intricate tool. It's definitely what you would say. It provides the guided map to the keys to self, is how I would define it. So when we look at, like, while human design provides, and I'll just read this because I got a little bit of notes in front of me. While human design provides a detailed blueprint of an individual's energetic and biological makeup, it can sometimes be perceived as static, focusing on how individual design to operate rather than how they might evolve or integrate different aspects of their personality. So I'm not saying that human design is not utilizable. Everyone should choose whatever it is that they feel may work best for them, given what they may understand as the information that's provided for them to utilize that understanding. But for me, when I look at human design, I've had my human design, given to me, and it's very intricate and it has a lot of great, information to tell you about who you are. But the one thing that I felt that human design lacked was telling me how to understand how it tells me that's who I am.
Okay.
Where genealogy takes you through those steps to come to a place to learn to understand how to utilize, meditation, how to utilize yoga in Tai Chi or Qigong and things like that to open yourself up to just reception of more of a greater understanding of who you are from the heart. So that way you have the heart mind connection instead of the brain mind connection, where a lot of the R complex and a lot of what you call the monkey mind and those programs sit. So you come to understand the difference. So that way you become more discerning. You become a little more capable of deciphering or discerning the difference between of where you're coming from. Am I coming from the aspects of the brain mind connection, or am I receiving something of higher understanding or knowledge because it was given to me, and I can understand the difference between a thought, having a thought, and being given information to take and understand for the brain to bring forth the knowledge or the wisdom of what I've been given.
So it's more like a science of putting all this together, because when I see like human design and see the gene keys, I'm sure you've heard of all that. And it's so much information. Like
Oh,
the
yeah.
gene keys is like that big. And I'm just like, I'm not reading all this. It's too much.
No, I get it. It's an enormous amount of complex information. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. It's just, for me, when I look at human design, I see it as more of, when I look at how they've brought it about, you've got triangles and you got squares. When you understand what that means, that's more of helping you understand more about the exoteric world and the being that you could utilize it as a way to understand who you are here, even though it's using esoteric knowledge or design to bring forth that information. So when you get to understand the difference between the masculine and the feminine, which resides and exists within all of us, then you begin to understand that lines and angles are of the masculine, where the feminine is of curved and natural. So when I look at human design, to me, in my way of seeing things and my understanding and all the information I've gathered throughout the years, it speaks more to that masculine energy, to who we are in this exoteric world, where we utilize it to possibly gain more information about our environment or individuals that we're in or what's taking place in that environment, which lacks having the ability to understand how to utilize the esotericness of us, which begins from within. Because when we see ourselves from within and we understand the world that we are and how it operates and how it connects, how it should have that harmony and flow that it should have, where we have no ailments, we have no disease, our energy is flowing like it should, our chakra systems are all spinning at the rate and the speed and the time that they should be, with the celestial clock in which we exist here in this realm. Where, for me, when I look at human design, it lacks that essence of bringing the balance that we all need to understand the two realms that exist, which we are in, having this experience.
Well, so many people looking for answers right now.
Of course.
I know me and Jimmy talked about this a while back, and I've noticed it a lot more lately. We're psychics, but we're like therapists half the time. We're having a problem solve like every single situation, and I'm like, this is getting crazy. But it's like giving people these systems of trying to decipher things. It's like things I've been looking at, whether that's the subconscious or different patterning processes for someone's life, and they have to want to do that work. Honestly,
of course,
that's a big part of it. And sometimes they're just coming for like energy stuff, but at the same time, it's like they're looking for concrete systems that they can change their life with. And I find that's why I find it interesting, because it's like an amalgamation of so many different things together to make this work.
Right.
I don't pretend that I understand everything, especially with astrology aspects, because it's not really my thing. But yeah, this is very interesting.
Well, you speak about that you have, many people that come to you, which is understandable because both of you have healing modalities or healing gifts, and that's the reason why they come to you. But The one thing that I do with etiology is I'm a guide. I can give you the understanding of what this guided map can give you.
Mm.
But the one thing I want to tell you is it's your responsibility. I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
So for you to come in and do what y'all do, and people keep coming back, is what they don't understand is that you give them the gift of understanding what it feels like to feel good. And then in that process, in order for them to understand how to hold on to that feel good, is for them to understand they have that same level and capability if they can understand bringing about the balance of the exoteric and esoteric meaning of the beings in the vessel and how they come together to understand this experience we're having called life. That's the reason why there's a tree of knowledge of good and evil, and then there's the tree of life. So when you come to understand how to utilize both trees and you find that balance within yourself, then you begin to find that ease to understand that this life isn't the way that we were always meant to live it. It has its difficulties, it has its issues, it has its problems. But everything that needs to be understood is that we must work on ourselves from within first to begin to change the world outside of us, to see the world that we want to have, that we can call a life where we don't have to worry about, I got to get up and go to my 9-to-5 job. I don't want to have to get up and go do this, that, or the other, because it's something I have to do, not something I want to do. So
yeah,
it's very defined, and it does take time. Believe me, for me, I've been on my own self journey since I was 33, and I just came across etiology about 6 months ago, and it just popped and made sense because through this journey, I've read an enormous amount of books. I've done a whole lot of observing of human beings, their nature, and understanding what being human is. So it's not something that happens overnight, but if you can come across somebody that can give you the right guidance and tell you what the tools are and how to utilize them, then you can begin to understand that the process begins with you. Let it begin with you. Every day that I got up, I said, let it begin with me. Even though that's something that you utilize in Alcoholics Anonymous, that's not even how I utilized it. I came to understand it, that it does have to begin with me. I have to change who I am and bring forth every bit of knowing that I have a masculine and a feminine. I have moods and personality and characteristic traits that serve me and don't serve me. And in that, through that process, I understood how to change the things that I felt did not serve me, and to create better habits and better formulations of characteristics, personalities that has helped me to become who I am. And then with etiology, it just excelled me in my understanding, because now I understand both the exoteric and the esoteric of the being that I am.
Okay, cool. Got a question from Mary. Hey, Mary. Says, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, but I'll read it out. I've been fascinated by this very topic for years, but in the last year, I've been learning what I can about it. My life path number 8, what can I do to resolve heart and thyroid issues? I don't know if you can take anything from that, or if you can do anything from that. Just knowing what her life path is, because I know you said my psychic number, or just, I think it was a psychic number, was a 3. My life path is a 3. I had a color reading the other day that was turned out to be a 3. I don't know if they all relate to each other, and if you're one, then that means you're the others as well. But
right.
Okay.
Well, when we speak about what can you do to resolve the heart and thyroid issue, the first thing is to understand what created it. What was it in your life that brought about that significant, painful point that took that emotion and placed it as an energy that sits where you may be having this heart issue or this thyroid issue? Thyroid issues are usually due to lack of speaking your truth. So you see, you have 12 inches. you have 12 inches between the heart and the mind connection. Okay. So when we talk heart and we talk thyroid, that means that our connection is not clear. It's not fluid. It has a blockage, so to speak. So when we talk about ailments of the body, for everything that comes about, COPD, CHF, heart issues, heart palpitations, and then we talk about thyroid. You got to understand those are two organs that are being affected within a certain place where your heart holds on to energy and the throat cannot speak it. So until that energy gets moved and you understand what's causing that blockage, you got to understand you can't judge how whatever it is that has created that energy blockage. Stop judging. That's the problem to begin with, is that we were always taught to judge ourselves about how we felt. Stop judging. Become the observer. See what it is that comes out when you ask that question. What is this energy blockage? And ask it purely from the place and space of understanding that you ultimately just want to know. You don't have to hold on to it. Don't judge it. Then when you do that, understand you're at a different place in who you are right here, right now, as to what happened then, to understand that when whatever it was that created that energy blockage is there, you're going to be able to see it from a different perspective because you're a different person now. And when you see it, you may see it as more on the whole as to understanding what took place in that moment, whether it was with a person, place, or thing that created that blockage. When you see it at a whole, as a bigger picture, because when we're in it, we're only seeing pieces. We only know what caused that emotional blockage because we put it there. Somebody hurt me. Oh, now I'm going to protect myself because that hurt. So you see, energy is just as much a wall as it is a blockage. It just depends on if you can recognize the energy and why you place it there. Forgive all you, whoever else that done it, and let it go. Because once you let it go, then what happens is if you have the chance and opportunity, even if you have someone to speak it to or not, whatever it is you're feeling, speak it. And then you're going to move that energy through that thyroid issue as well. So basically, you're killing two birds with one stone, with one action. And that's to feel the pain of that energy that is emotion. When you look at emotion, E only means no motion. That's why it's called stuck, because we didn't express it at the time when it happened. We took it and we put it. And that's what the body does. It's the vessel. It's a natural response.
Okay.
So it's a very intricate. It's very beautiful when you come to understand how to utilize this tool, because it helps you to understand why you feel the way you do, because you understand why you put it there the way you did. You come to understand the wholeness of this lifetime. Let's not worry about our other lifetimes. Who are you here now? What is it you need to look at and see and say, I forgive, because at that time, I only knew what I knew then. I only could do what I could do with it then. Now I want to release it so I can move it out and have more room for new experiences. So you see,
I think a lot of times, past lifetimes, it's like, I mean, I remember a lot of my past lifetimes, but still, it's like, and there obviously I'm being shown that for a reason, but still, it's like a lot of people are like, I'm diverting what's happening to me to a past lifetime. Now, could there be something there? Yes. But at the same time, it's more about what's happening now.
Yes. Correct. And the reason that I apologize.
Sometimes I have to slap people, like, energetically. I'm like, hey, stop getting your mind over there.
But yeah, a lot of it is like, you got to understand, if you can come to understand who you are here right now, in this here now time space, and work on just that, all the rest of that as it comes to you, if it so does and so chooses to, then you can work on that, because you already know what it takes, because you've worked on you. Because that's what's important right now. You, right here, right now, you're living this life, not your ancestors. So whatever's stuck or whatever, past life things that come up, they're going to remain until you understand how to clear you first.
Yeah.
And that's what's important.
Yeah, makes sense. I was just wondering, there are some people who kind of show no or very little emotion, and I'm not saying, I realize there's a difference between having no emotion and purposely suppressing emotion. But would you say that those who show little or no emotion, and they're not suppressing anything, are living as healed maybe as what you can be, because they are not showing any emotion? If imbalance and taking on different things is the trigger for emotion to come out, then if someone has no emotion, then they haven't necessarily got anything to heal, because there's nothing coming out. Do you see what I mean?
There's so much to that, Jimmy. It just all depends on the individual. It depends on the life they've lived. Some people who don't show much emotion or reactions to things can be very disassociative.
Okay.
So
do we have a 45-minute mark? I'm just wondering, Jimmy.
Yeah, we've got another.
Okay.
But yeah, that's just curious, because
I mean, like I said, it just depends on the individual. It depends on what the environment and how they grew up. Are they doing the work, and they know how to move those emotions, and they've done what they needed to assist themselves, so they understand themselves and they understand this world. There's just so much to this. There's so many, it's a complexity. Yet when we get to the point in possible position of understanding the simplicity of the releasing or the moving of emotions, then we begin to understand that not everything has to be so serious.
Because I know people who when they'll feel big emotions, but they'll get them out straight away, and then that'll be it, that they won't
Right.
live inside of them. And
like I said, it could be just disassociation. I mean, look at the world that is being brought about, and many people are coming out here and telling their stories, and a lot of them will tell you that given what they experienced, a lot of what they learned to do was disassociate, which means that the being, the soul, disassociates from the body, because the body holds memory, and that memory is something that can be overwhelming. Rather, and there's a lot of intricacies to this, because it's very deep. But to have this guided map that helps you, formulate, shape, form, or fashion the keys that helps unlock those parts of yourself, or those codes that helps you to bring that heart-mind connection to the place of understanding the knowledge that brings about the wisdom that exists within this vessel.
Yeah,
that's when we begin to.
You hear about people who don't remember certain traumatic events, but when under hypnosis they do, probably because they're connecting with the body that experienced it. Back, they're solidifying that connection again, and downloading those memories from the body, I suppose.
Well,
yes, and that has a lot to do with understanding that the subconscious holds so much more information and memory than the conscious does. So that's the reason why Carl Jung says, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate.
Yeah. Yes.
So when we can take that subconscious and bring it forward to the consciousness, which expands our understanding of who we are first in the experiences that we've had throughout this lifetime, boom, and it just really gives you that a lot of aha moments.
Cool.
Well, we're at 47 after. We got to wrap it up. But she got somewhere to be. But we have Norma Steen, Eneology, adventuresforconnection.com/Norma Steen. If you guys are interested, check it out. We'll have you back on when we have some more time to flesh this out.
I'd appreciate it. I'd join you. Yes.
An hour and a half. I'm sure we're going to have a lot more questions.
There's so much to this. Yes.
But yeah, thanks for coming on, Norma, and regaling us and telling us all about Eneology. And thanks everyone for watching, listening. Thank you, brother. And we'll see everyone again next week. Au revoir.